Welcome back to the garage. Thank you so much for joining me. And let me tell you, I would love to be building a sub enclosure today, but unfortunately that quarter trans fluid under my Jeep is going to prevent us from doing that. So part of having an old beat up Jeep with 216,000 miles on it is you deal with 216,000 mile problems. In my last video, I went ahead and saw I had a what I thought was a power steering leak because that line was all wet and rusted. Turns out it is not a power steering leak. It is actually a transcooler leak, and Jeep in their infinite wisdom decided to put the transcooler and the AC condenser on the same unit. So I ordered a bunch of parts. I got to get the AC evacuated on that thing, and it's going to take me a while to go ahead and fix that. But what we are going to do today is this thing. This, my internet friends, is a 2013 Honda CR-V. I acquired this vehicle pretty inexpensively due to an overheating issue. This thing is all-wheel drive. It's a 2.4 liter four-cylinder, 126,000 miles on it, and it's a Honda. And you guys think of Sir Mix-a-Lot when you hear Honda? I do. So I'm diving right into this 2013 Honda CR-V to diagnose the overheating issue. When you're looking at an overheating issue, it's going to only be a couple different things. Either a component failure like a head gasket, water pump, cooling fans, or you got a leak and there's no coolant. There's nothing there to cool the engine. So if you didn't know, cooling systems run under pressure, and as the vehicle warms up, it builds more pressure. So cooling systems run extremely hot, so you never want to start opening radiator caps or doing stuff when the vehicle is warm. Some vehicles that don't leak when the vehicle's just sitting and the engine's not running, however, spring a leak as soon as you start building pressure in that car. So that's why we got one of these guys. And this is a cooling system pressure tester, so it simulates the engine running as you pump this guy up. It's got a gauge on here, and you can watch the gauge. And you can watch the gauge if you got a leak, it's going to start falling. Or in a lot of cases, once you go ahead and pump this guy up, it just starts dumping fluid out where the leak is actually happening. Only works if you got coolant in the radiator. So I'm going to take this radiator, fill it up with some water because we don't have any. Trying to figure out what's going on with this Honda CR-V and its overheating issue. Radiator was bone dry, but it's been holding at about 17.5, 18 PSI worth of pressure for probably about 45 minutes now. And checking fuses and checking relays, making sure the cooling fans are working. And check this out, guys. It shows, go look at the manual, go look at the manual, go look at the manual, go look at the manual. I look at the manual for relays. Doesn't have relays. However, it does have pregnant woman. So since the manual is useless, I went ahead and went on the old YouTube and found some guy babbling for about a 5-minute video about nonsense to tell me these two relays right here, this one and this one, are your cooling fan relays. I pulled both relays out of the fuse box of the CR-V so I can go ahead and bench test them. I made a little test bench over here, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if we look top down on this relay, you got 4 pins, not 5 pins like the other relay that I explained in the last video. You will still have a control side, and you'll still have a switch side. And once you understand how any relay works, you'll understand how really they all work because they're all about the same. Unfortunately, Honda did not give us a schematic on this guy, but realistically, you could use your meter and see what 2 pins have continuity or what 2 pins have resistance to be able to tell which one's the control side and which one's the switch side. So, as an educated guess, I guessed the top pins are going to be my control side and the bottom 2 pins are going to be my switch side. And I was right in that. So realistically, if we look at the way these guys are mounted, you got these 2 guys, which is your control side, and it's that coil. So if you consider it like the Bosch 5-pin relay like we talked about last time, you got roughly 85 or 86. Now, these 2 relays, or these 2 pins, excuse me, are your switch side. once you go ahead and energize this relay, you should get continuity on both of those pins. So, 87, 30, or 30, 87, vice versa, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for this. But just know, once you go ahead and actuate this relay, you will get continuity on those two lines. So, now that we understand the relay, we'll go ahead and test it. And I got a Bosch 12-volt battery, and I got a meter here. And realistically, I've got 2 test leads into the control side of the relay, and I got my meter set to continuity. And once you go ahead and plug it in here, I don't know if you guys can hear that. That relay is clicking. So now, if I can attempt to do this with one hand, I got my leads on the switch side. And go ahead and energize the relay. And we got continuity. So, for all intents and purposes right now, this relay is good. If we go over here to this one, do the same thing. All right, well, that settles it. I got 2 good relays. Let's go back to the car. I set the camera up to do a top-down view of the fuse panel so I could show you one relay here, one relay here. And with my power probe, I was able to determine that this right here, this pin is an ignition on. This pin, I'm assuming, is a signal from the coolant temp sensor to turn the, or the computer to turn the fans on. If we look right here, we got 12 volts on this guy. And then same thing over here. We got 12 volts over here. So that's why I was determining this is basically my 87. One of these guys is my 85 and 86. And then this would essentially be my 30. And here's a good way to be able to test the fans. After you've determined what pins are what, right now we got ground. The nice thing about a power probe, you can go ahead and turn stuff on. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the fan is moving. So essentially, that means the wiring is good, the fan is good, grounds are good, and we can turn it off. Do the same thing over here. So now we can go ahead and turn this guy on. And you can hear that fan running. One step closer to figuring out what this overheating issue is. We're going up. So upon further inspection, I see we got some coolant on the floor, which I'm okay with, but if you guys can see, it's kind of hard to see, and we got a very, very rusted out line up there. So while I got it in the air, I'm going to pull a wheel off and check the brakes. So the car's back down. Left the front wheels off purposely so I can angle the vehicle down on my lift and get a little bit more room on the inside. Brakes actually look pretty good. Car's just neglected. I mean, looks pretty straight, and on camera it actually doesn't look too bad as far as the paintwork goes, but it's a little rough. We're just gonna pretend we didn't see that. So that tube, I want to say, is under the intake manifold. So hopefully I can go ahead and take the intake manifold off and see exactly where this thing's leaking. I pumped this thing up to about 20 pounds of pressure, and it's still holding. Obviously, I'm thinking when the thing gets warm and heats up, it opens that thing up and just starts pouring fluid out. I don't know. Let's start tearing into this thing. You know, I am in this thing pretty deep right now, and boys and girls, I don't claim to be the smartest guy in the world, but I have a funny feeling right there is where this thing is dumping fluid. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. I am calling it for today because I got to order some parts for this thing, and as you guys can see, I didn't go too crazy taking this thing apart. My thermostat housing is right down there. This tube runs up along the side, goes to the radiator, and then goes back to the heater core. Gotta love working on cars in Illinois. This is where it was leaking, and I assume when the vehicle got hot, these holes expanded, just like my glove, and you can see rotted out here where it goes into the thermostat housing, cracked when I was taking it all apart, and then this side looks like it's going to blow out too. So this part through Honda, extremely expensive, but you can't get it anywhere else, and it's driving me crazy that I can't find it. Separated this whole thing, and yeah, absolutely, you got to use a cutoff wheel and a Sawzall when you're doing cooling system work. Getting the thermostat, I was really trying to reuse this thermostat. I don't think I'm going to be able to because I can't get that bolt out of there. Tried to put a slot in it, and then I cut it, trying to push it through the backside, and I think I got a little bit of a crack in there now, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to mess with it. God. And I obviously need a valve cover gasket. Look at that. Jesus. So, this concludes day one. Next time, I'll have parts.